Heart failure is a very sad disease in our country because nobody takes it very seriously. People consider heart failure as a very chronic condition, and the main challenge of heart failure in our country is the prognosis is very bad. 50% of the people die at the end of 5 years. 30% of the people have hospitalization within the first year of discharge, and almost 30% of these same subset of patients have repeat hospitalization. And this is equally similar to patients with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction and preserved ejection fraction. So thereby, heart failure, even though it's a very common and a chronic condition, but people are not very serious, including the patient, the clinician, as well as the specialist put together. HFFFF in Indian patients definitely is different than in the Western world. We got wonderful data coming from the Medanta Heart Failure Registry as well as the Trivandrum Heart Failure Registry. Both of these studies have been large subset of patients of almost more than 4,000 to 6,000 patients have been studied and followed up. The interesting part is that we heart failure in India have got patients are 2 decades younger than in the Western population. Secondly, the risk of sudden cardiac death is very high in Indian subset of patients, and a rheumatic subset being a predominant part of the heart failure with reduced ejection fraction is also a common entity. So I think HFrEF in Indian patients is very different than the Western population. It needs early diagnosis as well as very aggressive management protocols. So heart failure with reduced ejection fraction in our country is way different than the Western population. 2 wonderful registries are there from our country. The first one is the Trivandrum Heart Failure Registry as well as the Medanta Heart Failure Registry. Trivandrum Heart Failure had more of rheumatic subset of patients which were there, and patients from the Medanta had got significant patients who were of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. Almost more than 4,000 to 5,000 patients were there in the registry. Indian patients with HFrEF present with 2 decades earlier than in the Western population. So if Western population mean age is around 65 years, in India it is in the tune of 50 to 52 years. A very young subset of patients which are the bread earners of the family are hospitalized, and the most important part is mortality is 50% of this patient don't survive for more than 5 years, and 30% of these patients get rehospitalization, and 30% of these patients have a sudden cardiac death. So in our country, HFrEF is very common, starts early, hits very hard, prognosis is guarded, economically it has got a significant burden on the community. So I think we need to be very serious about managing patients with HFrEF, diagnosing them, prognosticating them, and giving them optimal medical therapy wherever they need.